UG, they're no. I mean, they have a great reputation with collectors. A lot of collectors are they love their watches, especially what is it, the Tri-Compax, which we're going to see. But Breitling just bought them, right? They bought the brand, and I think that's going to, they're probably going to come out. I don't know when they're going to come out with the new watches. It might be a couple of years or whatever. But at some point, UG is going to have a bit of a renaissance. I've been looking for a Tri-Compax for a while. I haven't found the right one. So here we have an example of a Uni-Compax. But, I mean, these are cool watches. I mean, the prices are reasonable, right? These are like a couple of grand. I don't know, 3, 4, 5 grand, or whatever it is, depending on condition. And here we have like this is 1960s design. I don't know, 70s, two-tone. Now this is two-tone. Wow, this is pretty crazy. With a Tiffany blue second hand. It's got a Tiffany blue second hand. So this guy's a UG collector. Hang on, so let me see here what he's got here. So here we go. This
got a comment from Ali Reza.
Oh, okay. Hang on a second.
Tri-Compax.
There we go. Ali Reza. All right. Ali Reza in the house. A real connoisseur. The Tri-Compax is amazing. Yeah. The first or do this year. Hang on a second. Ali, hang on. Maybe he wants to pop on and talk about because I'm very intrigued by UG. Ali, I'm putting out the link if you want to pop on. Yeah, listen, I've been looking for a Tri-Compax. I like the ones from the 60s, early 60s. I like that kind of 1960s aesthetic, not the early ones. I like kind of the mid-century. So Ali is saying the first ones are due this year. Price is higher than existing Breitlings. Interesting. Okay. So, but this is, I mean, look, this is a stunning watch. I mean, to me, this watch to me looks better than any Patek in the current catalog, with the exception of the bracelet, which is it's a little bit of a chimsy bracelet, which they were in that era. But wow, what a beautiful design! This is so classic.
Yeah.
Dauphine hands. I mean, this basically I think this blows Patek out of the water. I mean, this is amazing. This is like you get these for like probably 10 grand. I think 10 grand. So okay, so this is kind of like I think this is a 45. Yes, I was gonna say like 50 or so. So 45. So I don't like this. This is a little bit old-fashioned for me. So again, like we were talking about on the live stream yesterday. Like when I look at vintage, I'm looking for something that more or less is around the time of my era, the time of my when I was born, not too far earlier. So maybe I don't want to go earlier than the 60s. But look at the stuff that these guys were doing. I mean, I think this is better than any Daytona. Wow. Color on the dial.
Yeah,
calendar.
They could reproduce that. Yeah, they could reproduce that with, I guess, with modern shades of color. Just to make things more modern, and then they would probably polish the hands a little bit, like just I don't know, just make them a little more refined and sleeker. And yeah.
Okay. So he's saying moon phase on the top. Yeah. So here's the thing. I mean, for me, the moon phase is I need to have a moon phase on my watches. I gotta have a moon phase. I mean, not that I have to, but I really love the moon phase. And the calendar and the moon phase is amazing. I don't know, what era is this watch from? Is this the 1960s? What era? Ali, do you know? I mean, what era is this? I'm right now on my wrist. I'm wearing the. I got the AP owl. I got the Royal Oak Day-Date Moon, and I'll be honest. I think that the fonts, the typography on the UG are superior to the Audemars Piguet. So, I mean, the bracelet on the Royal Oak obviously is better. The case design is better, but the dial, I mean, this is, to me, this is what the 60s are all about, the 70s, this type of look. That's the look. So I think this is, I haven't been following the prices since the announcement. I have not looked at prices of UG since the Breitling announcement. I don't know if people are loading up on them, but this is a stunning watch. Again, look at this. What do you think of this, Baron?
Oh, I think that one is. Oh, actually, I think this one's a lot better than the previous one. Just because the dial's a lot cleaner, and it's also kind of like this old Sunburst effect dial. Yep.
Listen.
All right. There's something about. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, to me, all these dials, like every single one of these dials, looks so classical. Like, like if I look at an AP dial or Patek dial from this era, I could find things I don't like. With UG, I can't. I mean, to me, they're like, to me, these dials are perfect. The whole design is absolutely perfect. And to me, this is much better than anything that Patek is doing today. I'm not talking about the case. I'm not talking about, because that stuff is whatever. But look at this. Wow.
Right. So it sounds like.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So
hello.
It sounds like your next watch is going to be a UG.
You know what? It's interesting. Okay, so I've actually been looking. I've been looking. So, like, if I were to get I've been looking. I saw one. I was at the Miami Beach Antique Show in January, and I saw a small one, a Tri-Compax from the. I think it was an early one, 1930. I think it was 1930s or something. The problem was it was so small. Okay, so he's saying that watch is from the 60s, 70s. The one that we were looking at. Yeah, 60s, 70s. Yeah, it's probably early 70s. This looks like a 70. Yeah, this looks like a 70s design, like 72 or something like that. This is my era. That's why I relate to it. But I was looking at these early Tri-Compax. I mean, it might have been one of the first ones. And the price seemed very cheap. It was like $3,500 or something. But it was so small. And I can't read the date window, the day and date windows, which are small as it is. They were tiny. I was like, wow, this is just like, the dial had, like, what is it called? Fly spotting. I don't know what you call it, but it was just, it looked beaten up. It looked beaten up. Here we go. Super chat, $10.03. Wow, $10.03. This is what's the 3 cents for? What does that mean? Must be some sort of good feng shui. So Ali Reza, have a good. I'll be back. Okay, stuff my face for JJ. JJ, come on, this is the show. JJ, what is that? I don't even know who that is. This is the show right here. Back off. Spare parts concerns. Okay. Yeah, interesting. Let's take a look. So, yeah. Yeah, I think again, okay, so the stuff I've seen, it looks like this basically. They look kind of like this type of dial, beaten up. Yeah, I think what's going to happen is, actually, hang on a second. Let me look at chrono. Let's take a look at chrono. Let's see what a universal Tri-Compax. Okay, let's take a look what prices. Low to high. Yeah, not bad. It's not bad. Wow, look at this shit. This looks like a. What does this remind you of, Baron? This.
Patek, yeah, the Patek Hobnail.
Patek Philippe.
Which I actually don't like the Hobnail. It looks too like. Okay, there was this kind of like fashion trend, kind of like in the 90s, 2000s, where they had like spikes on things.
Oh shit! This is 1990. Oh wow!
Too much of that.
You know what's weird? Oh, I didn't realize this is. I was like, man, this is a 1990. Oh, so this is like their. This is when they went off the rails. This is when UG was like in their whatever. Like, I looked at this. I was like, weird. This I've never seen it. Okay, shit. Okay, so the cheap. I was like, oh my god. Okay, so the cheap watches are basically the shitters. which nobody wants. Okay, so here we go. Tri-Compax. This is it. Look at this. Fuck. The problem is,
Did you go back to
again,
the previous screen?
Which one?
The previous screen where it listed all the watches.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Because I think I saw a watch there. All right, let's take a look at that watch. That's okay. Kind of, it's in the middle now. It's the second one from the left. That one. Right
This
there,
one?
Yeah. Yep.
I love this, except for, the condition. Look at the moon. Look at the moon. It's got a face.
Yeah. All right. So what caught my attention here with this one is, well, I was just looking at it. I was just wondering as well, what's going on with the? It looks like there's another circle, like in the center of the dial. So I was just wondering if is that dirt, or was there a design there originally, just kind of like faded.
Oh yeah, I think there was. I think I've seen something. Hang on. Does he have a comment? I think I've seen that. I think I've seen some sort of. They had like some sort of texture or something. I think they have had some. This is so cool. Hang on. Let's jump.
Are you a buyer? Are you a buyer of the old Universal Geneve, or are you going to wait for them to release the new watches and perhaps wait a couple of years and see if you can get a good deal on the new one?
No, I'm not interested in the new one. Unless they come out with, I don't. To me, it's not interesting. To me, what's interesting is the vintage, because this was a pioneering style. So again, like the way I look at it is, okay, these guys were doing something very innovative in the 1950s, 40s, 30s, and they were a heavy hitter of that era. I mean, they were up there with Patek. Patek sold Universal Geneve. You know that? Patek actually distributed Universal Geneve. Or what do they call it? Henry Stern Agency, whatever it was. This is a serious company, and so I look at it that way. So I'd be interested. Again, I'm looking for the best of breed. I'm interested in the original. The modern thing is kind of, to me, that's kind of like a reissue, and it's completely a totally different animal. So I would have no interest in the new one unless it was something crazy, whatever. But I don't have faith in Breitling. I'm not a believer in Breitling. I never was attracted to Breitling. So, wow, the prices did go up actually. Oh, you know what's interesting? I'm looking here. Tri-Compax. How many watches are on the market? 61 listings. I think what happened was, if I remember correctly, and if somebody's watching can chime in. Last time I looked at this was maybe in December or November. And at that time, there were only maybe 30 listings. So I think right now, a lot of people are coming out of the woodwork and trying to cash in or something. Wow. No, prices did go up. Shit, prices did go up. Yeah, so I think a lot of people are trying to front run the market. They think that, oh, wow, I don't know if Breitling, wow, look at this. Prices went up a lot. That's crazy. Wow, the market did move actually. Yeah, it really did. I haven't looked at the Tri-Compax in a long time. Not a couple of months, and I noticed a couple of watches that were there originally are gone. Yeah, I think what's happening is this is going to be like, you had speculators that came in, they got pumped up on this concept of, oh wow, it's going to be a whole new thing. It's going to be the hype thing. I actually don't think that Breitling is going to be able to hype up UG as much as, I don't think it's going to have a real effect on the market. By the time it gets there, in other words, by the time they come out with the watches, I think that by the time Breitling comes out with the watches, it's going to. People by then will be like, okay, next. It's going to be discounted in the market. You know what I mean? It's sort of like everybody's getting all pumped up. But by the time they come out with their watches, I mean, which may or may not be good, who knows? But they're going to be kind of modern looking, and it's going to be completely a different thing. And again, Breitling is not really a respected brand. I don't think. I mean, I know there's some whatever, but I don't think anybody really respects Breitling that much. So I think there's probably going to be good deals maybe in a couple of months. Let these tomato cans, sit on these watches a little bit longer, and there's gonna be deals soon. But I would be in the market for a Tri-Compax.
Yeah. All right. So I think the issue with the new Universal Geneve that's going to come out is that, okay, so Breitling's owned by some sort of investment group, right? Like private equity or something like that. Yeah. So they paid way too much for the I guess the holding company that or I guess the naming rights for Universal Geneve, right? And then whatever they've been releasing.
I see where you're going. Yeah. But keep going. I know where you're going.
So when they do release the Universal Geneve watches, I don't think they're going to do it in the right way. They may release beautiful watches, but they're going to try to produce, I guess, a volume and at a price point that's going to maximize the return. As opposed to, I think, would be the right way to do it.
They're going to whore it out, basically.
But just because they have to, because of the numbers, that's the only way they can make the numbers work. As opposed to if they were to do it the right way, they would have done it the way that the Chapek brand was revitalized a few years back, where they just did 150 watches or something a year, and then I think even now they produce maybe 500-600 watches a year. I think, if I remember correctly, and then if you want one of their watches, you basically you're paying full price, and then you have to order it. Unless you go to an AD and then you just get one that they happen to have it.
How much? Wait, Baron, how much did they pay for the name, for the UG name?
I heard it was something like 110 million or something like that.
What?
Somewhere in that ballpark.
What?
It's crazy. It's a crazy number. You can Google it. You can Google it.
Okay, you want to hear something crazy? I'll tell you something. I'll tell you
like a crazy amount for it.
Okay, I'll tell you something crazy, because this is okay. So I don't know. Let's call it 6 months back in whatever, I don't know, September. I'm looking at these Tri-Compax. I'm looking at them and saying, wow, what an amazing watch. The more I look at this is amazing. And, I started digging into the UG store because, I was aware of it, but I never really thought about it for whatever reason, right? Sometimes I just come up on something, right? I kind of look into the history more and more as I'm looking for this Tri-Compax. I'm looking for the right model. This might have been early, maybe 6 months, whatever it was, right? And, I find out, wow, this company was basically owned by a Hong Kong conglomerate or something. That basically, they bought the name, they bought the name, and they're just been they put out some shitters, then they stopped. It's basically been essentially like mothballed. So I'm thinking to myself, right? Because, I'm I'm involved in the financial markets. I'm thinking, wow, you know what? I wonder if this thing could be bought cheap for a couple $1 million. I could put together some investors, and because the name is amazing. There's a heritage, right? There's a story. There's a backstory. Yeah. But I thought, wow, you know what? Maybe these guys are desperate. It could be bought for maybe $5 million, and you get inventory, whatever. But wow, if you're talking about $100 million, that is very hard.
I pulled up the article. It was 70 million.
Okay, 70 million is hard to amortize. For a name only, that's a lot of money.
Yeah, that's why they're going to produce volume when they do release watches. It's going to be fast and it's going to be volume.
It's going to be fast and nasty. It's almost like when BMW or Volkswagen bought Rolls Royce or Bentley. I think BMW only bought the name. That's all they got was just the name. I think how much did they pay? I don't know what they paid, but somebody can look it up. But this is 70 million in the watch business, and you're an accountant. You know how to do the math. What do you think this means? 70 million. they need to amortize this over how many years? Because it's a private equity firm. What do you think? What do you think is kind of their?
No,
They need
they don't have to. They don't have to. What they're going to do is what I think they're going to do is, right, because when you're in private equity, you have a timeline to exit. So they get the IP, right, and then they just kind of like they release the product, they play some games to cook the books, and then they dump the holdings, and then
okay.
that's how they make money.
But basically, okay, but no, I'm looking at this, all right? So they're paying 70 million for the name, right? Actually, it could, in theory, it might make sense because here, let's do the math, right? They buy the name for 70 million, right? Let's say they amortize that over a period of, let's call it 10 years, right? So basically, they need to figure out, okay, we're paying $7 million a year for the name. How many watches? Actually, no, 10 years is a long time. Let's call it 5 years because things have gotten shorter today. So 5-year horizon, right? 5-year horizon. So they need to do, let's call it, 15 million bucks a year. So how many units do they need to move? Plus, I mean, production, you got to add production costs, all that stuff. So they need to move, let's call it, they need to have sales, I would say, of 10 to 15. So 150 million bucks a year. I think they need to sell $100 million a year in watches to make it worthwhile. At least. It's got to be.
Hold on a second. Let me pull up the Morgan Stanley watch report to see how that lines up.
Take out the HP 12C calculator. Yeah, I don't even know if you know what that is, but
yeah, it's the right. It's one of the financial calculators that you use.
The HP 12C, that was a calculator. I mean, I remember that was like around in the 90s. That was like the thing that people used to calculate, like, I don't know, everything, like options, bond. It was like that was the thing. It was I don't even know how I remember that name, HP 12C. But so if to do 100 million, can you do the math? You're an accountant, right? So let's divide 100 million by 10 grand. How many units is that?
$100 million by 10 grand. All right, so you just all right, so you just take off 5 zeros.
I think it's 100,000 units they got to do. Is that right? They basically need to sell 100.
All right, so
they got to sell 100,000 units for this to make sense. That's a lot.
It's oh, but at what price point though?
No, 10 grand, 100,000. How much is 100,000 times 10 grand?
You add 4 zeros.
I don't even know what the math is. Okay, I'm lost. Okay. Okay. Bottom line is they will need to sell. They will need to sell at least 100,000 units for this thing to make sense, at 10 grand or more. So I think that's going to be a problem for these guys. I don't even think the name is that good. I think they really overpaid $70 million for basically a name that's I don't know. I mean, you know what? But if they amortize it over 10 years, it could make sense because it's only $7 million a year. Maybe it might make sense. It might make sense. I don't know.
I don't know. So I don't know. Okay, so I think all they have to do is they just have to release some watches on the market, and then they just have to show year-over-year growth.
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, no. I'm sorry. You got okay. So wait, hold on a second. Let's do that. Okay. So 10,000 times 1,000, 10 million, 100 million. No, I got it all wrong. I got it all wrong. Excuse me. I got it all wrong. They got to sell basically like I think they need to sell only maybe 15,000 watches at 10 grand. 15,000 times 10 grand is 150 million. Or 10 grand. Yeah, I think they'll be okay, actually. I know it sounds like a crazy amount for just a name, but I think they're actually going to be okay. Because 10,000 is not a big number. The question is, how do they revive the name? Because that name is dead. I mean, it's basically ice cold. The only people who know about it are like, some vintage guys, some watch nerds. It's really not a mainstream name at all. At all. It's like that name has been. I mean, Jacques Dro is more relevant than Universal Geneve. You know what I mean? It's like that name has been so dead for so long.
All right, but at the same time, though, I guess they have a slight leg up on new entrants, but it's going to be the same way that MB&F built their brand or FP Journe built their brand. They just have to build good watches and then awards, and then that's it. And they have to pay off the price.
Yeah. No, listen. I think that So the issue I look at is here's the issue. The real issue is this, right? So the only people who know that the Universal Geneve name, right, is like really like watch nerds, very serious people, right? I don't think there's enough of them. And to go mainstream, it's not a mainstream name. To me, the name is not even relevant anymore because it doesn't just the name Universal Geneve. What does it mean? It doesn't mean anything. I think that's the problem that they had with the name from the beginning, because the actual name, it doesn't denote anything. It's not like a French name, which people associate with class. It's like it's like a random generic brand. It's like a Universal Geneve sounds like a random generic brand for most people. I remember when I first heard that name, I thought, oh, this is a shitter watch or something. I don't know. I didn't know anything about it, and I never really cared about it. And then, later on, you find out a little more about it, whatever. But, it just has the very generic sound. So, I don't know how, it's going to be interesting to see what happens with these guys. But I like the vintage watches. That's all. That's, I don't think that's going to be affected.
All right. So I don't know. I think because they have a history, right? They're going to have a leg up on marketing already. Because, as soon as they start producing watches, you're going to get all these watch YouTubers just saying like, oh, like how great the watch is, right? And then of course they're going to talk about the history of the brand. That's what they're going to do. They're going to talk about like some of the iconic designs and then some of the highlights.
Yeah, exactly.
And how they're going to bring that. Yeah, they're going to weave the story, and then they may or may not be paid off. Who knows?
So you know what is I call this like the story brand. It's going to be one of these things where basically, and listen, the kids today, they love to hear these like stories about, the past history of, it's like the Rolex Explorer. Oh, this watch went to Mount Everest or whatever. Oh, the Universal Geneve was whatever, it's like, they're going to come with all sorts of cockamamie stories. All these guys with the Dirty Sanchez mustache, Urban Gentry, the, what's his name? Theo and Harris, all those guys, they're going to be all over Universal. They're going to be pumping that, and they're probably going to get paid off also. So it's going to be quite interesting.